Hi all. It seemed like basically England didn't even move beyond second gear yesterday, and they won the first test at Leeds against India. Uh, we have seen England play very differently in the past through whatever they call as baseball. This one seemed like it was a new version of baseball. I'm pretty sure the entire, whoever follows cricket or whoever is following the series would have been expecting them to like try and get that 370 target in like 60 overs or 50 overs or something like that. But they just chose to play very differently. Maybe that was the surprising element. Ganesh, what did you observe in terms of what happened in the fourth innings and even leading up to it?
I mean, you're right, Jaga. I think it didn't. It looked like England didn't break a sweat reaching that 371. They didn't go the baseball way that the world knows of. They took a much measured approach. I mean, though they scored at 4.5 to 5 runs and over, the baseball approach is much more than that. I think they had a very solid plan in place to ensure that the chase ended successfully for them. The openers almost knocking off more than 50% of the runs without losing a wicket. I think the India could. I think it was very difficult to recover from that place, knocking 50% of the runs. I mean, beyond that, leading up to the fifth day, there has been, I mean, the obvious ones being the 41 for 7 and the 31 for 6 by India when they batted. Um, I mean, though we had said that this batting lineup we are scared looking at this batting lineup before when the team was selected, but the top order kind of did justice to their
Yeah,
selections. Everybody, this is the first time a team
definitely.
has lost after scoring five individual hundreds, apparently. I mean, imagine what five individual hundreds in when you can count it as six because if a five-wicket haul can be counted as 100,
Yeah.
then India had 600 or equivalent scores.
The problem was that it was very binary. Either you had hundreds or you had single digit
Yeah.
numbers.
So a 41 for 7 and the 31 for 6, obviously everybody can point fingers at that. And that's where we lost the game. We lost the game on the second day when we were 41 for 7, on the fourth day when we were 31 for 6.
Lost
But
it multiple times.
yeah, I mean, within 3 days, we lost 72 for 13, if you
Yeah.
count that. And I mean, if you count that out, we have about 750 runs for the remaining seven wickets.
Yep.
So that is too stark a difference to get come back from, and having had to catch up most of the time, England. They did a great job winning the game, I feel, because most of the time it looked like India were in
Yeah.
control, except for those tailenders collapsing.
Correct. Yeah.
They looked like they were even in the first innings. India looked. I mean, India should have taken a 100-run lead given the way they picked the first five wickets. Again, England didn't give up. The tail batted well, and they managed
Yeah.
hardly a lead. 6 runs is hardly a lead. So even in the second innings, when it looked like India will run away with the game when they were like 300 for four or something,
Correct.
if
Yeah.
they had gotten it to 450, they could have comfortably gotten to 450. Even after the 41 for 7 collapse in the first innings, they had a chance to revive and set a target of 400 plus to England.
That
Uh,
also means you didn't learn from the collapse in the first innings in terms of how England's bowlers were bowling,
exactly.
what they were targeting, and things like that, right? I mean, it seemed like there was a deliberate ploy to get into the ribs and float it outside off and things like that.
Exactly. And also the fielding didn't help. I mean, these are all
Yeah.
the very obvious ones. The catching there. I mean, I have seen here and there. There has always been some tests where India's catching is very bad. Usually, they're very in the last 15 years, India's catching has
Safe
been
catching.
very
Yeah.
very good. But they come up with one test where they completely forget everything and they drop catches up plenty. This has happened multiple times. So this is one of the tests which I wouldn't read much into it because a lot of fielders are fielding in England for the first time and all those things. But the ground fielding cannot be forgiven, I think. The ground fielding could have been much better. There was a lack of intent and lack of effort several times from several fielders. I feel Jadeja was the only one who was doing a brilliant job with ground fielding.
Even he
Um,
dropped a catch.
Yeah, I mean, ground fielding, I'm talking about now.
Yeah,
So, in terms of ground fielding, I think he was doing a fabulous job. A lot of boundaries. He
yeah,
ran behind and stopped it to two or three at times. I mean, any other fielder, it would have been a boundary, I feel. Um, but talking of Jadeja, I think Jadeja, the most important thing that is in the team for the bowling, especially the fourth innings bowling. I think he should have bowled. He could have definitely bowled well. He didn't get that rough outside the left-hander's mark to bend ducket effectively. He didn't use it. When he started using it against Stokes, Stokes was in a lot of trouble. Though
he was
Stokes
struggling.
managed a couple of boundaries, he was edging. He hit his pad, hit his arm. In fact, one ball hit his glove and popped up.
Yeah,
I mean, Rishabh Pant didn't spot it. He was in a lot of trouble. It was just a matter of time before he was going to get out to Jadeja. I mean, it eventually happened. Um, but he didn't do that line properly. He didn't catch that line properly when he was bowling to Duckett. Duckett batted brilliantly, yes, but all the balls that Duckett hit was mostly on the stumps, which he had.
right. He was able
He
to
had a
sweep and reverse sweep.
he was he had a plan to sweep and reverse sweep all that. So Jadeja could have. I mean, talking of that rough and all those things, did India get the selection wrong? Like several times we have seen in the past. Should
Yeah.
Kuldeep have played?
I
Is
definitely think. I think we called it out in our lead-up video as well, saying Kuldeep has to play the weather, the pitch. I think, and I think the other part to it is also around how England have played over the last few years. They have relied on their batting, basically muscling through situations and matches. That means they basically rely on pitches when they are flat. So if there's a pitch that has a little bit in it, like we saw during the series in India. If it was very flat, then I mean, we've seen that in England, we've seen that in New Zealand, and other places as well. So the fact that I think they definitely would have made sure that the pitches are going to be flat even across the entire series, because we've seen over the years that that is a great ploy for opposing teams to negate any sort of advantage that India's bowlers will get out of these situations. Because they know that okay, the batting will fire, right? Generally, there's a certain level of credibility from a batting perspective. It's always been the bowling that's been having question marks until maybe we had Ashwin and Bumrah and Jadeja and some of them bowling in tandem. So, given that, it was very obvious that the pitch was going to be flat, and the weather conditions meant that it would start breaking up. You saw yesterday there was so much turn from some certain places where the roughs were created. Plus, I think we also spoke about it. Kuldeep would have posed more questions to the England batsman given how he bowls. To that extent, I definitely think the team selection was bad. Uh, Shardul, I don't know, he probably bowled like 15 overs in the entire match or something like that, or 12 or something like that,
I think
or maybe not
he
even 10. Uh,
and he batted about 15 to 18 or 20 balls maximum again.
Yeah, so see, I mean, he was perhaps not trusted enough by Shubman and Gautam or whoever to bowl enough, but that also indicates that maybe you are over trusting his batting and bowling ability. So, from a team selection, I don't see him playing in the second test, but that's in a different video. I do want to dwell on the team selection, though I think not picking. Uh, yeah,
Kuldeep.
Kuldeep was definitely a mistake. Yes, Prasidh got you a few wickets here and there, but he was very, very expensive. There were actually times when he was bowling pretty decently, but then after three balls in the over, he would basically give away a couple of freebies. So there's a long way to cover for him for sure in terms of being any sort of a semi-permanent presence also in this one. So Kuldeep was definitely a wrong selection when given that he was not picked. Siraj bowled pretty well in the fourth innings. You could see that he was really, really putting in the effort, but that consistency was not there. First innings, he was pretty much a no-show. On the other hand, Jasprit Bumrah was great in the first innings, but largely ineffective in the fourth inning. So it seemed like England had figured out how to maybe negate his impact, which actually now seems scary, right? Because the overall dependency on him has been very high. Now it becomes even more because the rest of the bowlers are almost borderline incompetent.
No, that's the point. See, when Bumrah is allowed to have days like yesterday, when he doesn't pick up any wicket. But we need to have a plan B when when Bumrah goes through such days. How do we tackle that? So other bowlers have to step up. We cannot. I mean, I think India came in yesterday thinking that okay, Bumrah will initially pick couple of wickets here and there, and then he will come up mop up the tail. So we'll
Yeah,
finish, we'll win the game because given that it is 370. No, it cannot happen. Bumrah just picked a fifer on day three. So you
right.
have to, somebody else has to put their hand up. I mean, Kuldeep's the selection. I also definitely feel Kuldeep should have played this test. Um, all the time we keep covering our batting. We need batting depth, but that doesn't help. See what happened with this, with these two batting
Yeah.
collapses. So I think Kuldeep. I mean, Kuldeep could have held the bat for some little more time. I mean, if not scored 20, he may not have scored 30, 40 runs, but he could have held for some more time because every
The
time there was a,
partnership would have developed, right?
yeah, because every time it was not the tailenders batting. Every time there was some top five, six batting towards the end. Even
Yeah,
Jadeja was there towards the end.
correct.
So they could have played Kuldeep. Kuldeep would definitely have. I am not saying India would have won, but I think might have been different. We don't know. I mean, even going on second gear and winning, England would have had to think a lot more, especially with the
Yeah,
rough
correct.
outside, the off stump for the left-hander. I think that was a mistake. And also, when Siraj was bowling very well in the second innings, after quite some time, he started really bowling well, but he was not given a ball from say 44th or 44 to 80 or something like that. He didn't bowl a
Oh,
single over. Where we
oh.
had two rain breaks also. It was not that he was over bowled.
Mhm.
So we had two rain breaks also. He could have come in for a spell in between. We kept. I mean, I think it was a little baffling to me when Siraj was not bowling on a day when he really bowled well. He was troubling the batters. He had a go with
Yeah,
the Duckett and all those things. He gets angry on the field and all those. Yes, we have seen all that. But yesterday he was bowling the best, I feel, of all the bowlers. Unfortunately, I mean, he doesn't have wickets to show, though Prasid and Shardul has
yeah,
two each. But he could have bowled one more spell in between to get the probably that would have worked in India's favor. But all credit to England the way they came up through from day one when they were chasing the ball. They came up and they, I mean, 371, just because they have chased 378 versus India last time. This looks second best, but
right.
this was I think it was
No,
a
this is
very good
really
chase,
good.
very good chase.
They also seem to find people pretty much for every occasion, right? I mean, even on day one when the Indian batting was running away with it, Stokes came in and got a couple of wickets to just stop the. Then during their then they wrapped up the tail through Tongue and others. Then the next day when they were when they triggered the collapse again in the second innings, in between their lower order contributed through 20s and 30s and scoring quickly also. So I think very good overall performance, all-round performance from England. They definitely deserve the credit. And like I said, I was most impressed by how they just played very differently from what we have come to expect from them. That just shows they're adapting and learning. One thing that I wanted to just look at is, I think you kind of touched upon it in terms of the Prasid or Siraj, how effective they were at various points of time. I don't know if, maybe with the exception of Bumrah, others can even bowl of the order of 15, 20 overs on a daily basis, right? It doesn't seem like they have the fitness or the skills to be those kind of days, because in India, your fast bowlers probably only bowl around 10 overs a day, and then you have Ashwin, Jadeja, and Kuldeep will take care of the remaining 50, 60 overs between themselves. But in other conditions, your fast bowlers have to bowl those 20 overs a day. I don't know if they've had that exposure. Just before this, they were playing the IPL. Before that, I don't know what they were playing. There was an A tour, India A in Australia, sometime later part of last year, early part of this year. Before that, the previous A tour was when England Lions came to India in January 2024. So they're all aligned closely with any sort of other series that are going on. I think the A tour exposure has been lacking. I don't know why. Generally, India BCCI has done a pretty good job with A tours, particularly when Rahul Dravid was in charge, and possibly after that as well. Something is broken down somewhere, as a result of which these bowlers are not getting that exposure to bowling 15, 20 overs on a daily basis, and they're basically ineffective at some point of time onwards.
Yeah. Yes, I mean Prasidh Krishna was brilliant in the IPL when he had to bowl just 4 overs. So even now here, even every over, he almost seems to bowl one wicket-taking ball. I mean, it doesn't mean that he'll pick a wicket every over. All wicket-taking balls are not eventually
Yeah,
turn up into wickets. The batsman bat it out well or get beaten. You are not lucky; it didn't edge. All those things. But in between, the other 4 or 5 balls were not up to test level yesterday, I feel. He bowled, I mean, couple of great balls. Yes, he picked wickets, 2 wickets. He gave us the breakthrough and all. But overall, after those two wickets, he didn't bowl that well to keep up the pressure. Almost there were 1 or 2 boundaries going away in every over
yeah,
of his. So that
every
is
over.
what it comes back to the point of what you were talking, Jaga, about the stamina and strength and the mental ability to keep bowling 15 to 20 overs a day. So I don't think because he had a long injury layoff also. I don't think how many Ranji Trophy matches he played for Karnataka this
Yeah,
year also. So everybody, when they come back from injury, they are focusing on getting those 4 overs right, be
right.
available for IPL and T20 games. So that's become the norm. So we need to find players. Like I said, plan B on days when Bumrah is not picking wickets is very important, I feel, Jega. So,
It almost
uh,
seems like plan B is plan B for Bumrah only. No, where யாரும் இல்லப்பா நீதான்.
so our plan A is plan B. So,
Yeah, basically, yeah.
mm,
There is no plan B. It's the same as plan A.
but I mean,
Anyway, what
overall,
anything else
overall,
that you observe?
overall, I think, I mean, after pointing so much of fingers, also there have been some of the positives in terms of the batting. The top order batting has been
Definitely.
really positive, given the way that Gill had not proved himself at the test level yet. We spoke about it when he was handed over the captaincy, and except for KL Rahul and to an extent, yes, Pant also. There were a lot of course, yes, Karun and Sai Sudarshan got out for
Yeah.
ducks in the first innings, but still, I think the batting did pretty
I
decently
think the
well at the
batting was
top of
fine.
the top half.
At least the top 4 or 5 were fine, right? The
Yeah,
problem was your six onwards didn't really contribute pretty much at all.
yeah. So it is definitely the way Punt got. I mean, now Punt has got his last 3 innings. His competitive cricket is hundreds. I think the last IPL game he
Oh,
got 100.
from the IPL.
So that is heartening to see the way Gill took up the responsibility and
Yeah.
not overawed by being captain, and he got a brilliant 100. It's probably one of the best innings that I've seen Gill play in the Test format. Um, of course, Yashasvi scored a wonderful 100. Rahul, both the innings is brilliant.
Very good.
I mean, a lot of credit will not go to Rahul. As usual, Rahul is forgotten. I mean, in first innings 40 runs, the second innings 130 odd was brilliant. I mean, I think it is. Uh, we have to give credit to a lot of credit to Rahul and the way everybody batted. But they have to work on the lower order batting and how to come up with. And this team selections is something that I'm just not able to come to terms with. For years, we've been shouting everybody. I don't know. Even we have even picked Karan Sharma ahead of Ashwin in a test.
Yeah.
So that is, I think, if that is the most absurdest selection ever, so this doesn't even come close. So we have done all those things. But I think there has to be a time when we turn things around. I initially the way that the first innings that we batted, I felt a little bit that okay, this could be will it be Gautam Gambhir's redemption series? But always, as they said, no, never judge a pitch or a wicket until both the
Yeah.
teams have batted.
Yeah.
So that is the positives to take out of it. But one other thing, on overemphasizing or overconfidence in terms of the batting, all the top 4 or 5 have middled very well. This is what happens when they middle very well and score a lot of runs. The next game they go in and edge everything. So edge everything to the slip.
Well,
So we
yeah.
have because the conditions are going to be different, and probably Jofra Archer might be in there. Too. There is
Yeah.
talk of Jofra Archer coming in too. So we have to be a little cautious about continuing to do what we did well and also fixing a lot of other things, starting from the writing the team level.
Yeah, I mean, the next test starts on the second at Buxton. We'll see how the lineup is going to be. all the stuff around will Bumrah play, which test, and all those things. I think those are immaterial, right? You get your batting lineup right. You make sure that you get the team selection. At least you do what you need to. I think the other piece that hurts is it's not just the lower order that can't bat, it's also the, I think we've spoken about it earlier as well, the top order can't bowl. So that's why you're forced to pick people which who may not necessarily be ready to like Shardul or Nitish. They're almost like adjustment picks. Okay, we'll get a little bit of bowling from him, that's good enough. Or we get a little bit of batting from him, that's good enough. I think that's hurt India often enough in the last almost like a decade. And I don't see any chances to fix it, right? Because none of the bowlers seem to even try their hand at bowling even 1 over. So maybe that needs to be something to be looked at as well.
Yeah, that is very true. I mean, ever since the golden generation of Tendulkar's, Ganguly and Sehwag,
Sehwag,
Yuvraj,
Yuvraj,
these guys ended. The next generation that came up with Virat, Rohit. Beyond that, I mean, after that, we've never had the top five, six bowling. So that is a problem that I don't know if the BCCI or the management who are trying to fix that in any way. I mean, in between, Yashasvi Jaiswal said that he was focusing on bowling, viewing a few things and all
yeah,
those things, but let him focus on his batting
yeah.
also at the
Let's
same time.
encourage him, right? I mean, maybe there is something there
Yeah,
because he seems to only be switched on for one innings in both in an entire test match. You might as well because if he's only going to contribute in one innings, then use his bowling skills in the other innings. No?
exactly. That's a very, very valid point, Jaga. Yashasvi Jaiswal scoring only in one innings over all. I mean, I think he's only in two games he's played. He scored runs in both the innings.
Yeah,
In all the
as in
matches.
minimum 50.
He has to. He seems to be a one innings wonder. I mean, every game he scores runs, but consistently he scores runs. If you see the
Yeah,
match aggregate is very consistent, but it's
correct.
mostly here and here, like
In one inning.
one innings. So that he can probably focus on. I mean, if he scores 100, the opponents can be sure that he will get out soon in the next second innings. So that should not be the case. So let us see. I think there have been
I
some
think he's
positives.
treating it as 5 1-day games rather than one 5-day game.
So let us see that. I mean, I think the top
Anyway,
order, the batting has been the good one bright spot for us. But there are a lot of thinking to do before we get to Edgbaston.
yeah, cool. So we'll come back again in a few days' time with the preview leading into that test match. Until then, thanks a lot for viewing. Keep giving your comments and do subscribe to the channel.
Thank you.
Thank you all. Bye.